Good morning and welcome to lecture number 9. In the last lecture, we had seen regarding the Hooke's law and the extension of the bar. Today we will see the effect of extension and shortening of a bar. Consider a figure of a bar of having cross section diameter d and length L subjected to a tensile load or a compressive load. So from the tensile load we have, that is, stress is equal to sigma is equal to P by A and strain is equal to E or epsilon delta by L. From the Hooke's law we have stress is directly proportional to strain, which we have seen from the stress strain diagram, where we have seen that is the stress is proportional to strain within the elastic limit. Now using the Hooke's law we can find E is equal to stress by strain. So from that we have, that is, stress is given by P by A, E is given by delta by L. So we get, that is, PL upon A delta. So from that we can find what is the deformation delta, which is given by PL by AE. Now this is true for the sections that we are going for the application of the particular, that is a basic prismatic bar, which is, we can say, used for a simple tension test. But in practical applications we may not have the bars of a uniform cross section. So we have to study the different defects that are there in the manufacturing process, which will be required according to the selection of the bar which is required for a particular application. Now the next topic is when the bars of cross section is varying in steps. Now with a simple figure we can say, let a bar be made of 3 parts, 1, 2 and 3. Part 1 having area A1, length L1, part 2 having length L2, area A2, and part 3 having length L3 and area A3, which is subjected to a axial load P. Now when we consider this, we have to say that the material has a uniform, that is, the material is uniform, and let E be the Young's modulus of the material and P be the axial load that is acting on the element. Now when we go for that, we have to see in the figure shown, next figure that is shown, that is the forces passes through the section 1, 2 and 3. What are the area, we can say that will be varying, but we can say stress will be different at different points. So we have to see what are the portion. In that case, if you consider the portion 1, we can say sigma 1 is equal to P by A1. If you go for the strain, we can say epsilon 1 or E1 is equal to sigma 1 by E. Or if you go for the deformation delta, it will be P L1 upon A1 into E. Similarly, if you go for the portion 2, in that case we have, that is, this is, let the stress be sigma 2, which is equal to P by A2. The strain is equal to E2 or epsilon 2, which is given by sigma 2 by E, or which is equal to P by A2E, or that is sigma P by A2 into E. And the extension delta 2 will be equal to P L2 A2 by E. Similarly, if you consider the section 3, in that case we have sigma 3 is equal to P by A3, and the strain epsilon 3 will be equal to sigma 3 by E or P by A3 into E, and the extension or the deformation delta 3 will be equal to P L3 A3 into E. So these are the, so if you go for the total change in the length of the bar, we can say let delta be the total change in length. So it will be made of delta 1 plus delta 2 plus delta 3. So the equation can be written delta 1 is equal to PL1 by A1E plus PL2 by A2 into E plus PL3 by A3 into E. So these are, that will be the total deformation that we are getting for the application of a varying cross section. Now these formulas can be used for solving the numericals, which we'll see when we'll be solving the numericals for all the cases. So we have to see that the difference between the stress that is acting and at a uniform cross section, we are considering the length which is having the uniform cross section, and we are calculating the stress for that uniform cross section. When the area varies, we are going for the second deformation, and when we are going for the area 3, we are seeing the deformation will be larger or less depending on the type of load that is acting on the element. Now in the previous case, we have seen that it is the step bar having diameters D1, D2 or A1, A2 area of uniform cross section. But in practice, all the components, mechanical components, they may not be having the straight portion. There may be some taper portion. So we have to see what are the changes in the stress, or we have to see what is the change in length when a particular, that is, load is passing for a particular taper bar which is subjected to a tensile load P. We can consider a rod of diameter D1 at the bigger end, and it tapers uniformly to diameter D2 at the other smaller end. Let L be the length as shown in the figure, and if E is the modulus of elasticity of the material, we can find what is the change in length over the entire length L. Now this can be found by considering a simple example. What will be change in diameter in the length L will be D1 minus D2. Now if you go for the rate of change of the diameter, let K be a constant, which we can say D1 minus D2 by L, that will be considered. Now consider a elemental strip having the thickness dx, and let the width be b at that portion. So we can find what is the change in length for the particular. Now let this elemental strip dx be at a distance x from the larger end. The diameter of the bar at this section D now can be given in terms of D is equal to D1 minus Kx. Now what is the cross sectional area of this strip will be A is equal to pi d square by 4, which is pi by 4 into d1 minus kx whole square. Now if you want to find the extension of the bar, the extension of the element, in that case it is given by p into dx divided by pi by 4 d1 minus kx square into E. This is nothing but the form that is PL upon AE from the equation delta is equal to PL upon AE, which we have seen in the previous case. Now if you want to find the extension of the total bar over the length L, then we have to see that the deformation delta will be equal to integral 0 to L over, we can say, the P dx upon pi by 4 into bracket d1 minus kx whole square into E. So that is the entire, we can say, if you integrate this, we have the constant, that is load is constant 4p upon pi. E is the Young's modulus of elasticity, which is again constant. Integration 0 to L dx upon d1 minus kx whole square. After integrating we get that is 4p upon pi ek into bracket 1 upon d1 minus kx over the limit 0 to L, that is the entire length. Substituting the limits, we can say in that case 4p upon pi e d1 minus d2 upon L into bracket 1 upon d2 minus 1 upon d1. So since we are substituting the value of d1 minus kl is equal to d2 in this equation, then the entire extension of the bar we can say is 4pl upon pi e d1 minus d2 into d1 minus d2 upon d1 d2, which is equal to 4pl upon pi e d1 d2. Now this equation we can say, if we compare, if d1 is equal to d2, we get that equation, that is 4pl upon pi by 4 d square into E, that is nothing but 4pl upon AE, which is the uniform cross section. So this will be the change in the extension of the bar when we go for the change in dimension of the bar varying from d1 to d2. So these are the things that we have to consider when we go for the, we will be solving the numericals on this, but we have to see what is the basic concept for deriving the equation of this type. Now if we consider, instead of a bar, a plate having a thickness T which is tapering from B1 at big end to B2 at the small end, and let L be the length as shown in the figure, then we can determine the expression for the change in length of the taper plate when subjected to an axial force, similar way that we have solved in case of a puddler, that is a bar. Now in this case, when we go for the puddler, that is the plate, we can say in that case let B1 be the width at the, we can say, big end, B2 be the small end width, and let L be the length, and consider a thickness T of the plate, and let B be the width at a distance x where we are considering a elemental area dx. Now when we go for that, we have to see that when we are considering an elemental area dx at a distance x from the larger end, the rate of change of the breadth will be b1 minus b2 by L. Hence we have to see the width at the section x is b is equal to b1 minus b2 by L into x. So which is nothing but b1 minus kx, where k is equal to b1 minus b2 by L. Similar to the bar we are considering here, that is the diameter equivalent for the puddle, that is where k is a constant. Now therefore the cross sectional area of the element in this case A will be equal to T into b1 minus kx. Since the force acting at all the sections is P, we can say what is, we can find what is the extension of the element, that is again P dx by AE. Now if you substitute the value of A in that case, we can say it will be P dx upon b1 minus kx into T into E. And if you want to find the total extension of this bar or the plate over the entire length 0 to L, integrating 0 to L, we can say P dx b1 minus kx T into E is equal to P by TE, which is a constant. Integrating 0 to L, the variation is dx upon b1 minus kx. So we get that is, after solving the integral, we get that is P by TE into bracket 1 upon minus k into log b1 minus kx, limit varying from 0 to L. So that is, we can say after the simplification, P upon TEK into bracket minus log to the log b1 minus b2 x by L into for limit 0 to L. So So if you go for the simplification, in that case we get that P by T E K log to the base E B2 B1 by B2. That is a simple equation for the particular, that is the equation that we are going for the plate. So we can say PL upon TE into B1 minus B2 into log B1 by B2. That will be the equation for the plate having a thickness T. So that is the change when we go for, that is depending on the cross section area, what will be the extension will be varying. Now when we go for the practical applications, we will be seeing various components which are having the various thickness and the diameters, or we can say the diameters will be varying. So these will be the equations that will be using for solving the problems in this case. So we see what is if when we be seeing the numericals that will be solving for the next time. In the last lecture we had seen the Poisson's ratio, that is when a material undergoes a change in length, it undergoes change in opposite nature in lateral direction as well as the longitudinal direction. So we have seen example of particular, that is a bar subjected to direct tension. Its axial direction, it elongates, in the same time its sides contract, or we can, in the lateral direction there is a decrease in diameter which is shown in the figure. If you define the ratio of change in axial direction to original length as a linear strain, and change in lateral direction to the original lateral dimension is called the lateral strain. It is found that within elastic limit there is a constant ratio between lateral strain and the linear strain, and this constant is called the Poisson's ratio, which is given by the lateral strain by the linear strain, which is denoted by 1 by m or mu, and for most of the metals its value is between 0.25 to 0.33, and its value for steel is 0.3, and for concrete it is 0.15. Now this is the thing that we have to see when we go for, that is the Poisson's ratio. Now why we require Poisson's ratio? Because the next thing that we will be seeing is the volumetric strain. What is volumetric strain? When we consider a member which is subjected to stresses, it undergoes deformation in all directions. Hence there will be change in volume. The ratio of change in volume to original volume is called the volumetric strain. Thus nu is equal to delta nu by V. We can say that is where EV is the volumetric strain, or epsilon V is the volumetric strain, and delta V is the change in volume, and V is the original volume. It can be shown that the volumetric strain is the sum of the strains in the three mutually perpendicular directions, that is EV or epsilon V is equal to epsilon x plus epsilon y plus epsilon z, or Ex plus Ey plus Ez. That is a standard formula for the strain that we are following in the three dimensions. Now for example, consider a bar of length L and breadth B and depth D as shown in the figure. Now if you consider a bar of length L, breadth B and depth D and as shown in the figure, we can say the volume will be equal to length into breadth into the depth of the particular, that is the bar. Since volume is function of L, B and D, we can say that is delta V will be equal to delta L into B into D plus L into delta B into D plus L into B into delta D. So delta V by V is equal to delta V divided by L into B into D. So the strain, volumetric strain will be equal to delta L by L plus delta B by B plus delta D by D, which is nothing but the volumetric strain for that bar, which is given by EV or epsilon V is equal to epsilon X plus epsilon Y plus epsilon Z or EX plus EY plus EZ. That is for a rectangular bar that we are going for a extension. Now, if you consider a circular rod of length L and diameter D as shown in figure, the volume of the bar will be V is equal to pi by 4 D square into L, that is the general volume of the bar. If you want to find the volumetric deformation, we can say delta V is equal to pi by 4 2 delta 2D delta D into L plus pi by 4 delta 2 delta L D square into delta L. So delta V by pi by 4 D square is equal to 2 delta D by D plus delta L by L, which is nothing but the volumetric strain of a bar in X, Y and Z direction can be given again by Ex plus Ey plus Ez or epsilon X plus epsilon Y plus epsilon Z. Since epsilon Y is equal to epsilon Z, we can say d delta D by D is same. In general, for any shape, volumetric strain may be taken as sum of the strains in the three mutually perpendicular directions. Now, this is a very important concept that we have to understand when we go for calculating the strains in any element for a application. Now, the next topic is elastic constants. For elastic bodies, the ratio of stress to strain is a constant and it is known as the Young's modulus of elasticity. Similarly, when we go for the modulus of rigidity and the bulk modulus, these are the three elastic constants, and these are to be modulus of elasticity E is already defined, and we have seen it is nothing but the ratio of stress to strain, or E is equal to sigma by epsilon. Now, the materials that maintain this ratio are said to obey the Hooke's law, which states that within the elastic limit, strain is directly proportional to strain producing it. The elastic limit of the material is determined by plotting the tensile test diagram, where we have seen the slope of the straight line gives the Young's modulus, which is required for the which can be called for a unit strain can be found. This implies that the Young's modulus is the stress or the force per unit area to elongate the body by its original size or to cause the length to change. However, most of the engineering materials, the strain does not exceed 1 by 1000. The mild steel has a much higher value of the Young's modulus than the rubber. Similarly, elastic materials have the shear strain, which is found to be proportional to the shear stress, and within the elastic limit, this is called the modulus of rigidity, or is also called the shear modulus, and it is denoted by G is the ratio of the shear stress to shear strain. G is equal to tau by phi, where phi is the angle that is required for the calculating the shear strain in the material. One more is there, that is we have to see what is the bulk modulus. When a body is subjected to identical stresses sigma in three mutually perpendicular directions. So when we say three mutually perpendicular directions, it is x, y and z. We have to see that the body undergoes the uniform changes in the three directions without undergoing distortion of the shape. The ratio of change in volume to original volume is defined as the volumetric strain, and the bulk modulus K is defined by K is equal to the rho by or epsilon v, that is the volumetric strain which you have seen, and delta. Now if you consider a three-dimensional stress, a bulk modulus may be defined as the ratio of the identical pressure P acting on the three mutually perpendicular directions to the corresponding volumetric strain. So we can say in that the figure represents, that is the P is acting in x direction, y direction and the z direction. The figure B shows that is what is the change in the volume in the three directions x, y and z, because it will extend in x direction, it will decrease in y direction, as well as it will decrease in the z direction. So this body is subjected to the identical pressure, we can say, in the three mutually perpendicular directions, since we can say that this is given by, or within the elastic limit, we say that is P is the hydrostatic pressure that is acting on the element. Now in the next lecture we will see what is the relationship between the modulus of elasticity, modulus of rigidity and bulk modulus for a application. So next lecture we will see that is the what is the application for the or the relationship between the modulus of elasticity and the modulus of rigidity and bulk modulus. Thank you.